pull your microphones forward and turn them on. We'll make sure everything's okay with microphones. We had some feedback issues I heard at the ZBA, so I'll make sure we're okay. All right. All right, I'd like to call the July 26, 2021 meeting of the Town of Niskayuna Planning Board and Zoning Commission to order. Is it Mr. Henry's going to try calling the roll, or is it Laura?
Mr. Laflamme?
Here.
Mr. Khan?
Here.
Mr. McPartland?
Here.
Mr. Darpino?
Here.
Ms. Shenfield?
Here.
Ms. Gold?
Present.
Mr. Scributennis is excused. Mr. Oster is excused. Chairman Walsh?
Here. Thank you, Mr. Henry. And Mr. Henry is working remotely during this meeting tonight. Okay, so up next we have the approval of the minutes from the June 28th, 2020. It's June 28th, 2021 meeting minutes that were included in your packet. Can I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion.
Motion made by Mr. Khan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McPartland. Any changes at all or discussion on the minutes? I have no comments. No? Okay. Hearing no comments, all those in favor of approval of the minutes from the June 28th, 2021 meeting signify by saying aye for approval.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, hearing no one opposed, we'll approve those minutes. Thank you. We have no public hearings tonight, so we'll move right to privilege of the floor. Anyone wishing to be heard regarding any planning and zoning matters in the town of Niskayuna, please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. We'll listen to what you have to say. So privilege of the floor is open. Do we have anybody in the audience tonight? Okay, do we have anybody online, Laura, or any communications, Clark or Laura, letters to be read or anything?
No, I checked my email up until 6:30 and there's still nothing.
Okay, great. Okay, so seeing no one and receiving no communications, we'll close privilege of the floor. We also have no unfinished business tonight, so we'll move right to new business. And under new business tonight, we have resolution 2021-25, a resolution to make a recommendation to the town board on a special use permit for a mixed-use building of professional office and apartments at 2147 Eastern Parkway. That resolution was posted to our website along with the rest of the packet. I'm just going to summarize. Now, therefore, be it hereby further resolved that this Planning Board and Zoning Commission hereby recommends that the town board grant a special use permit for a 3-story mixed-use development containing professional office and apartments at 2143/2147 Eastern Parkway, as shown in a drawing entitled Lisi Development Group LLC Concept Site Plan Mixed-Use Development 2143/2147 Eastern Parkway by MJ Engineering and Land Surveying PC, dated 1/25/18. Most recently revised Rev 4 and dated 7/20/21. Subject to final site plan approval and the following conditions. 1, final facade shall be reviewed and approved by the Architectural Review Board. 2, final landscaping plan shall be reviewed and approved by the Tree Council. Can I have a motion for approval? And I guess that would be Mr. DiArpino.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Mr. DiArpino for adoption. Do I have a second?
I second it, Chairman.
Second by Mr. Laflamme. Discussion?
The drawing Clark sent out by email that's not in the packet, is that going to be the?
No, talking to Laura before the meeting, we thought what we'd do is, we have this item under discussion for tonight. We could talk about that, but we'd stick with the packet that's referenced for the town board. And I believe their public hearing is tomorrow night, the town board.
Correct. Yep.
So we'll want to change that. And then, that's a site plan. If they approve the special use permit, and we'll work through, modifications during site plan review. Okay. And I would just like to mention for the public, there's also several other whereases from our different committees included for just recommendations and information to the town board, such as the Niskayuna Conservation Advisory Council, the Architectural Review Board, and I believe Complete Streets might be in there also. But bottom line, that information is all available, and it'll be up to the town board to decide if they want to grant a special use permit with any conditions they see appropriate. Any other discussion?
Just for clarifications, this ties us to 2 office spaces plus 10 apartments,
2 office spaces,
but
first
not
floor.
necessarily either of those site plans.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, we'll work through those site plans. So a total of 8 apartments and 2 professional office spaces, and that's what the current design is. Yes, Leslie. So we'll work through that in site plan review after we have some discussion later tonight. Any other comments at all? Or questions? Okay, Mr. Henry, please call the roll.
Mr. Laflamme?
Aye.
Mr. Khan?
Aye.
McPartlin,
Aye.
Mr. Darpino,
Aye.
Ms. Shenfield,
Aye.
Ms. Gold,
Aye.
Chairman Walsh.
Aye. The resolution is approved, and again, the town board will have a public hearing tomorrow night regarding the special use permit. That's it for new business tonight, so we'll get right into discussion. And up for discussion first is 2147 Eastern Parkway. I know we have Mr. Derpino and we have the applicant, Mr. Lisi, here. I think one thing we want to probably do is talk about the late submittal that we received today that was not included in the packet, but we'll have it up on the screen for the public to see. And I don't know, if Laura, if you could broadcast that, if you're not.
I can bring it up. Hold on.
Mr. Lisi, do you want to approach the microphone, state your name and address for the record, and maybe you can fill us in on this latest submittal?
Yes, Lou Lisi, 1131 Mohegan Road in this community. Before I get started, I want to say hello to my grandson who always watches me on the. Hey, Jack.
You're famous now.
Yeah, thanks. Last time we were here, we talked about moving the building to one side or the other, and I thought I had a plan that I liked earlier that wasn't submitted, and I thought it was consistent with what we had talked about last meeting. When I went back to the engineer, that's the plan that I originally was wanting to submit, which has the parking lot on the right side with no access on the left side of it. I think that's not the most recent plan, though. That's different than the one you got this afternoon, correct?
This is the one that we received.
Oh, yeah, there's a dumpster. No,
Yep.
the dumpster is, yeah, okay.
Yep, straight ahead, right? I'm trying to pull it up on my
Oh,
thing
that
here.
dumpster's to the left, isn't it? I
Of the
think the
lot?
new map that we have.
Yeah, if that, it should be there was one late, Laura, and it's.
Yeah, I've got it. I'm bringing it up here. Hold on.
So I think the dumpster was located in the little spot on the very north portion of the map. And I think the parking spaces were shifted a little bit to the left.
Oops. Okay, hold on.
Yeah, the main difference between that plan and the one we're seeing is that the dumpster is on access with the drive-in point for the parking lot. So the plan that was just currently up on the big screen had the dumpster tucked on the grassy area a little bit more to the left, behind what would be the parking structure that's there.
I think we shifted those parking spaces
Mhm.
to the left, I think. to
Correct.
allow for that, correct?
Yeah, when I saw the plan earlier that was emailed out, as comments I was gonna have is that the sidewalks didn't go all the way to the property line.
There it is.
And the dumpster looked like it was gonna be tough to access. And then this came in later on addressing those two concerns that I had.
Correct. So there's the one, I think that came in late in the day,
Mhm.
which has the dumpster being directly sprayed in from the curb. The aisles are both the aisles on the rear and on the side are both 24-foot wide. So they both handle 2 lanes of traffic.
So the dumpster, the vehicle trash will be able to pull straight in and kind of back to the left there and then
Correct.
do like a K-turn and get back out.
Right. And what this doesn't show is that I think I want to fence that dumpster. I want to put an enclosure on the dumpster, which doesn't show in the map.
Yep, and we'll get to that during site plan, assuming special use permits issued, yep.
There'll be a fence around that dumpster.
So my only question I had on the latest one is if you're parked in the back, where's going to be the covered parking? Or if you're, parked along the green space right adjacent to the building there, when you get out of your car, you have to walk through the parking lot to get to the front sidewalk or the rear sidewalk. I can understand in the back because you have to go across the roadway to pick up that sidewalk.
Mhm.
But do you want the people that park along where the handicap spaces are when they get out of their car to walk through the parking lot to pick up the sidewalk? Or should there be a sidewalk along the front of those parking spaces that maybe goes all the way to the back?
I mean, to the rear?
Yeah,
Or at least to cover the handicap spots, and you could have a ramp to just the second handicap spot. I've seen that done,
Okay. But that's to get to the rear, to the front entrance.
just to the front entrance. So imagine parking in that second handicap space.
Yes.
and having a ramp up onto a sidewalk right there in that green area that then turns the corner to the front of the.
But they would still access the building from the sidewalk that's shown along.
Yeah, it would just connect to
We just connect.
the sidewalk you got across the front.
Mm.
Yeah, otherwise somebody's in a wheelchair, right? They got to try to get through the parking lot, snow removal goes and things and try to get to the sidewalk. Be nice,
Yeah, I understand. That's fine.
yeah, I mean, if it were to go all the way to the,
Yeah, because that corner of the building is commercial space anyway. It's not residential.
but if a resident were to park there handicapped, I guess they would have their own, does there need to be a residential handicap parking space, I guess would be the question?
So that's,
I don't think it's required by code.
so that's something I brought up the last time, and it wasn't required by code, but
Okay.
it's kind
Well,
of,
the issue was
Well, you
that
do have to-
residents have a designated parking
Two
space.
spaces.
yeah.
Yeah,
Right, so that's their spot.
multifamily apartments have to have handicap parking spaces, but I don't think that they have to be distinct from the commercial.
Right, and that's what I was
Okay,
thinking,
so-
so that's why I think that's a valuable comment. So if a resident were to park one of those handicap spots, they can still access their apartment from the front door, right, Mr. Lisi? Is that-
Yes, correct.
So as long as they can get in the sidewalk to the front, that works out okay.
Access the rear and the front, exactly.
I mean, you've got to depict sidewalks a little bit better on this picture, right? I think this was just conceptual for now.
No, there's no
No?
sidewalks in that picture. What you see there, the sidewalk in front is only,
That's all there is.
yeah, there's like a 20-foot setback, 25-foot setback. So that'd be the walkway to get to the front of the building.
Mhm.
The rear folks would park and then they take their sidewalk into their space.
Yeah,
Because
look-
those are all dedicated parking spots in the rear. They're covered.
And will there be a sign as well that indicates that's for the residents?
Yes.
So it looks like this proposal has probably the most green space we've seen. Is that a true statement, maybe?
Correct.
So that's good news. And that was one of the comments we had earlier is like those in the back apartments, that now they have this green space available to them. I know we picked that up, I think, in one of the last revisions, but it seems to be pretty reasonable from what I can see. Minimizes the curb cuts, maximizes green space.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Lisi, just for clarity, I think I got it, but you can point it out. So a patient in the building parks in the second handicap spot. How do they get into the building?
Being a resident in the building.
No, a person who's coming to one of the medical offices.
Okay, I think we're going to put a ramp onto that grass here in the lower right corner, which will connect the walkway to the front walkway, and they would walk in that way.
Okay, so it's what Mr. McPartlin suggested.
Correct.
So we got to depict that,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
yeah,
That's fine.
right.
My point I was trying to make is that extra concrete is not close to the residential corner, which is
Okay.
in the northeast corner.
All right,
So it'll be next to the commercial space.
right. And if that person were a resident who parked in that handicap spot,
Well, I don't know why he would.
if he has,
Yeah,
okay,
space
so,
in the back.
so we're not expecting any residents to park in that handicap spot?
That's my assumption.
Okay.
Now, there could be a handicapped person visiting a resident,
Sure.
right? But they'll have access to the front of the building to get to the elevator.
Okay.
Because the commercial space will be accessed from the inside
Mhm.
hallway, not from the exterior.
Okay.
It is a better plan, though.
Thing. Yeah, I think this is what the original plan was, but I was talked out of it.
And you're consciously not depicting trees or landscaping or anything yet. We'll do that.
Yeah, we still have to put it on the map.
Post that.
Correct. Correct.
Yep.
And this will work for snow control and all that?
Yes, I've been told by the insured that it will. There's plenty of spots to park, to push snow in that space to the left of the dumpster.
Yep, and to the left of the site, like I said.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. I mean, I think we're in pretty good shape here unless anybody has any comments where we're at right now.
Might be good to, in the final site plan, show in the demolition plan removal of that one curb cut and a proposed, yeah.
Mhm.
I think that would be something the town would be looking for the developer to.
Yeah, and that green space up front where the curb cut, the left curb cut, that'll continue along the front of the building, right? So that could be blacktop areas now, so that'll be green space.
Oh, great.
Where the current left curb cut is on the left-hand side, that'll turn into green space.
Okay.
It's in the town right away, but
Yeah.
it'll be grass.
Yeah. By the way, just for for information, the trees that are in front that are depicted in the photograph, are you planning on leaving those? Or are you gonna need to
Go
cut
there
them?
now, 3 of them are dead. They're
Oh,
gone.
okay, they are.
I think there may be only one left. I'm not sure. The other one
Okay,
diseased.
all right.
Yeah.
So that's something that the tree council was gonna work with?
Yeah, I think the
Restoration
CAC specifically wanted to see larger street trees there just because of the streetscape on Eastern
Yeah.
and had asked for like oak-sized street trees there. And the tree council confirmed they thought that was good, but that would come with the landscaping plan
Yeah.
that they requested.
I mean, we'll see what happens to the town board tomorrow. I think I brought this up the first time this came, right? For everything in this whole area, and I'm extending it all the way up to, to where Caldwell Banker is and everything. Our code allows a certain height of building, but if we put buildings in there at that height, which we seem to be doing, you seem to be doing, right? Both across Union Street and
Look at
Albany Med, et cetera.
Look at Albany Med, right? We
Right.
put that building right against a residential district,
Right, understood.
right? And so that's a 45-foot
Right.
building. This is more buffered than that building is. We got a synagogue across the street. We have apartments on the other side of the street. We got an office building on the left side. We got an office building on the right side.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's why I'm surprised that
Just
not
trying to be
more.
consistent, that's all I mean.
Yeah, that's why I'm surprised that not more people show up to the public hearings because it is going to be a taller structure than what's there now.
Right.
I'm not sure how much people grasp that, but
But it's also the last parcel in this unit.
understood. I mean, it's in code, right? So that's where I'm coming from. But
And plus, there's no area variances. It's going to be within the 35
Right,
foot,
yeah.
so.
it's going to look different to the neighbors. So
Well, so did what's the adult living center? What's that called?
Right.
Brookdale.
yeah,
Which is now blue.
Yeah.
So that also
Sure.
that also had a variance for height.
yeah, I understand. I'm just making a comment. That's all.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to. I did Albany Med. I know we got it Albany Med. We're right on a residential district.
Right.
All 3 sides.
Right.
And some of us are still hearing complaints from the neighbors and others.
Right. In the zoning, it's all depends what the town likes and what they want in the district. So you got your kind of town board look the other way just to get Albany Med into the area,
Yeah.
obviously.
I'm actually, one of my main concerns is actually the congregants at the synagogue across the street. Because it's a place that people come to, I'm not sure how many of them are fully aware that there is going to be a 35-foot building across the street.
Yeah, they definitely, I got the mail out, but
Mhm.
Well,
the synagogue got it, but not
Yeah.
the people necessarily who come and
right.
worship at the synagogue.
And you know
And
where
the
they-
people who borrow the
you know where they
parking.
put their overflow parking?
Huh?
You know where they put their overflow?
Yeah, I know.
parking?
Yeah,
Don't charge them a penny.
I
Use
know.
all they want.
I know, yeah.
And that
In
little
fact,
hut in the back, that little shack in the back,
Yeah.
uses that? The Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
Free of charge.
No, I mean, that's, like I said, it's just
So, there's a reason why they're not complaining, because I've been a good neighbor.
yeah, no, agreed. It's strictly a comment just on people's expectations, that's all. Right? Everything is within the code, so we're good, but it's just
They
people's
also come to public
expectations.
hearing object. I think I got support from Ken Raymond, who owns the Caldwell Banker building next door. I think
Sure,
that's-
yeah.
that's the project.
Yeah, I was just thinking about across the street, but that's all right.
All right, so is there any questions or comments regarding where we're at right now in this project? You have anything else for us, David? Or anyone?
No. I'm just looking at this plan now. This parking canopy might require a zoning variance to locate it within the setback. Will that be considered an accessory structure, Laura?
I don't
say
think
no.
so. Yeah, I don't think so, because it's required for the multifamily.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't believe it's an accessory structure.
Oh, good.
And
we
we
go.
had this discussion early in the process.
Good question.
Just wondering, just trying to get ahead of that.
We can double check and make sure how we've treated the past covered parking, but
All right, so the town board will have their public hearing tomorrow night. They won't be taking action tomorrow night. They'll have our recommendation, and then I would expect probably a decision at the second meeting in August for the town board, either granting or denying the special use permit, and at that point in time, it'll come back to us. So then we'll work through some details at that point in time.
Okay.
All right?
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. All right, next up is 2837 Aqueduct Road, application for a rec center, and that's at Rivers Ledge. And we have representative of the applicant. Mr. Pafunde.
Yep, Chuck Profundi.
And I guess we could start out with anything, just update us from the last meeting. You kind of introduced the under reports, I believe, to us last time.
Yeah.
So you can let us know where you stand, and we'll talk about it.
Laura, are you gonna?
Well, obviously having problems with the internet. Sorry.
I always bring my board too.
While Laura's pulling it up, last time we discussed the rec center, the new incremental building.
Yeah.
Being kind of in a location that was kind of close to the bike path. We gave you some feedback that we'd like it to be perhaps further away and some shrubbery added to shield it. Has there been any changes to the location that you were envisioning as a
Yes.
result of the last meeting?
So we did push it further back from the property line, I believe upwards of 10 feet, right?
From the one, so is it actually further away from the bike path than the 22-foot other structure?
I believe it's the same.
Similar? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But farther back than it was originally proposed. We added screening at that location. We added screening at the parking lots on the rest of the residential that faces the river for the
Yeah.
concern from the other residents that were here the last meeting about headlights crossing the river. And we did add, we changed the sidewalk alignment that went to that fitness building to reflect change in grade and also the shift in the building farther away from the property line.
Right riverside to the building is a kind of a water basin or a pond. of
That's
some
correct.
sort, right? So where's the pathway relative
It will
to that?
actually go around the pond and then it meanders up to the top at the fitness center.
Coming from the river up
That's
around the
correct.
pond, okay.
Yep.
All right, great.
So I think that, has Laura and Clark talked to you? I think they want actually to push it back even further.
Even further,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, so I think when Laura comes back.
Yeah, we'll have her summarize the
Yeah.
planning department's input.
Yeah, but the basic gist is just, and I think it works both ways, both for the residents who'll be using it and also for people in the bike path. I think as much of a barrier as you can put,
Yeah.
right, in terms of both distance and landscaping, I think would be good.
And other projects too, if it's more of a concern, we can add berming, right? Sometimes we add berming with the supplement of plants to really put a buffer there. That way you're not getting foot traffic cutting through it really either.
Is there
That's
enough room to do that at
Yeah.
22 feet?
Yeah. I mean, that's the main intent. The main intent is to really isolate it as much as possible from, the propensity of someone on the bike path to want to think that, that's a place that's allowed for them to go to.
Absolutely.
And,
With additional signing, there'll
Right.
definitely be signage, residents
Right.
only and stuff when we get into the architectural design.
Okay, I'm sure that the residents will have like a fob or something to get into the center, so it won't be open to, nobody will be able to get in there.
Yeah, it's all key fob and
Yeah.
access.
Plus, obviously you want them to be safe, the residents there,
yeah, so I think there's a direct recommendation from the planning department on that.
Yeah, basically, the agenda statement says staff recommends that the building be moved even further back than it is at minimum, not any closer than the previously approved building, which was about 22 foot away.
Okay.
That's what the recommendation is, and does not feel a line of Norway spruces would help mitigate the building impact. But when Laura's trying to get this, no, you're okay. Trying to get back onto the internet here, and then we'll have her talk about the planning department's concerns.
Should work.
Chuck, are you planning on putting a railing along the path in front of the retention basin?
Yes, yeah, there's gonna be an extensive rail and fence package on this project once we shake out everything with adjacent grades and stuff. And that's something that we figure we'll make sure we have installed prior to the first CO in any of those areas that will be open to the public around those adjacent buildings.
And in terms of pedestrian access, it's just that one route along the access road. It doesn't loop around to the east of the property, correct?
That's correct. So, yeah, so pretty much the leading sidewalk that leads to the fitness center is it's attached to a loop that goes around the entire development. So it's a leading sidewalk off of that loop.
Do you feel that the parking is sufficient based on your expected occupancy, building occupancy?
Yes. So what we find is most folks that actually go to our clubhouses or fitness centers and any detached structure from the development walk a lot of the time, unless it's raining or snowing or something, or if they're hitting the fitness center on the way home from work before they go to their apartment. But very minimal traffic on the clubhouse and stuff and the fitness centers.
Yep.
People grabbing their mail.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Laura, we're still broadcasting everything, right? You just have a problem pulling up the display to show them.
Because Jingus, it turned the light on when I plugged
Yeah, it
in.
did. It's,
But it's
it's,
not recognizing USB.
yeah, it's red and I mean, I'm not sure if red's the right color it should have. I don't know if it has a different color.
Try a different port. Sometimes.
Yeah, you want me to do that?
Yeah, can you?
Sure.
Normally it just recognizes it.
Laura, while he's doing that, could you, we're just talking about the planning department recommendations regarding the, I'd have to, my computer's so slow, but regarding the 22-foot and the trees you're concerned with.
Well, we just find that, 12 feet would need an area variance. I mean, that's really close to the lot line. The buildings themselves are at least 20, which is more in line with the residential zoning district. We just wouldn't recommend 12. It's just not enough typically for a building. It's not good precedent.
So there would be an area variance would be required?
No, because
Because
it's
it's
a
a
planned
PUD,
unit
yeah,
development.
so-
But just generally speaking, we wouldn't ever.
So
go
it's
that way.
12 feet to the property line?
It's 12 feet to the property line. That's what it's showing.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the Norway spruce buffer is good, but just in general, like a PUD allows zoning flexibility, but I think the point is that you're trying to make it as conforming as you can. And a 12-foot building setback typically would be a substantial request. These buildings are supposed to be 40 feet from the lot lines. Residential buildings are usually 20 feet, and this is 12. Just,
So
and
we can
I
make that-
understand the view, but
We
How
can
would-
make that shift then.
How would that impact the design?
It would just impact the overall view from the front bay windows, right? The reason we wanted to place the building where we had it was so that you had the view of
It's
the
up-
river
it's
and
up
the
a bit,
rest of
yeah.
the development.
Yeah.
The 8-foot shift would give you more of a view of like in the Rexford Bridge direction and towards the front entrances.
Yeah,
it's you guys' call. We
Yeah.
can't recommend a 12-foot setback.
Yeah.
You can balance the other things.
Just to confirm, what I heard you say earlier was you could accommodate the 22-foot
We would
distance.
just sacrifice the view for the residents.
But that, based on our recommendation, that's what you can do, and that would allow enough room for a buffer or a berm if we wanted to do that as well.
That's correct.
So we're operating on the 20-foot, not the 12 right now.
that's what I heard, yeah.
Okay.
Could the building be, well, right now it's just got a slight angle. Could it be modified so you could still get both somehow?
Yeah, we're
tough
trying to
to-
fit a
yeah.
lot into a little area there. So I don't think we can't really change the skew
Yeah.
to allow, because we're trying to allow for the parking and the sidewalk infrastructure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I understand what, this is a special project being a PUD, and I think we have some flexibility. So I guess I challenge you to see, what you can do. Obviously, if you can satisfy, the concerns of the planning department and still come up with a good design, that would be ideal for all of us, right? So I don't know if you can take a look at that. I think that's,
Absolutely.
and I think Mr. Laflamme and Mr.
Yep.
Khan, they were project leads before for Rivers Ledge, so you're going to continue on.
Yeah, we'll
that, so-
continue on. I think we said it last time. I think we just
Yeah.
forgot to put our names on the thing.
So is that the thought then, let's see, do the best job you can to satisfy, the view and the
Yeah.
concerns of the planning department would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like a good product too, so.
Yeah.
So,
I was just trying to make the residents happy with the overall look.
Yeah.
The clubhouse is going to have a phenomenal view, and this was just another cherry on top of the.
Right, and I think we can work something out.
Yeah.
Right, it's not exactly what it is now, and maybe it doesn't exactly have to be 22 feet, but
right,
I don't know the interior, but can you shave like 8 feet off of the interior? Like how many
That
machines?
was what I was thinking.
Yeah.
There, where we may be able to keep the skew of the building, but maybe shave some area off the recreational space. we have the golf simulator on that side near the near property line, and then the pool and ping pong table, which was a pretty large space we may be able to take
Yeah.
out of there. We'll look at it for sure.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I mean, as it stands now, Laura, it will require a variance?
No, it doesn't.
it's not
It doesn't.
But it's just the planning department doesn't recommend that you flex that much, right? Because like when you guys did the planned unit development and
Mhm.
stuff like that, the general setback that people understood the buildings to be was like 20 feet,
Right,
which is half of the required setback for these
right,
buildings.
understood, yeah.
But now you're at 1/4 of what the setback would normally be.
Right.
Although it is a smaller building than the multi-use building, but yeah, it's not an issue of going to the zoning board. It's just an issue of how much flex do you want to put into PUDs.
Yeah, and like I said, I think there is a practical aspect to it being close to the bike path.
Correct.
That I
Does
think you wanna mitigate.
berming help sway that decision for you folks at all with adding some earthen berm and then some plantings, which would give it more of a buffer to the bike trail?
And leaving it where it's located?
I guess maybe meeting in the middle. 8 feet's a pretty drastic cut off a building, but if we could look at the operational space with, traversable code, ADA code around these
Mhm.
recreational equipment, and then maybe shave 4 feet off with earth and berm and planting.
How tall is the berm?
I could probably go 5-6 feet and maintain everything that we have right now.
And then plant on top of the berm?
Yeah, you plant on top.
That
That
sounds like a
sounds attractive.
significant buffer
Yeah,
to me.
it does. I mean, I, as a compromise, I could find something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could, Chris, I don't know.
I completely
But
agree.
Laura, at the end of the day, will look to you to,
I mean,
You okay with it?
I can't bring the darn drawing up. It has significant Norway spruce plantings along the edge.
so-
Yeah,
Description of it.
yeah.
I mean, we're seeing it here, Laura. You don't need to struggle with it.
Yep.
I mean, I think the whole thing just needs to get rebooted at this point.
I'm gonna just let it be then.
But moving the building, just kind of shifting it towards like noon, towards the river, would get you some additional feet. I mean, just looking at the floor plan, I think on the game room side,
Yes.
a couple pool tables and a ping pong table, if you take 4 feet out of that, that's a pretty good chunk.
It is, yeah.
So, I mean, if you're
Symmetry.
going to keep that, 3 equipment tables there, you're going to want that space.
Yeah.
Also looks like it can be a flex
Yeah.
space for a party room or something. There's a counter in there. I mean, the golf simulator is going to be a dedicated room because you're going to need the walls for that. But I just think if you take significant, even 4 feet out of that room, it's gonna crunch that room down.
It does, yeah.
agree.
It would also, it wouldn't just be taking space out of one room, like you're saying. We'd have to kind of shake out the entire floor plan to make it all work again.
Yeah, I think if you just slightly move the building up, you lose a little view. But again, if you're working out, you should be paying attention to what you're doing. A lot of people are going to have, a screen in front of them or headphones on. You're going to have TVs in there too, I would assume.
I don't know. It's,
Yeah.
let's get to maybe a new compromise.
Okay.
Chris?
Yeah, look, this is a long-term project. The view is a very good aspect of a rec room to add value to the
I
patrons.
value. the point.
I agree
So-
with Dr. Pino's point. I don't want to interfere with the shape interior. I
Mhm.
also like the shape of the exterior.
Yeah.
It kind of bookends the whole place and, so I think the visibility, the proximity, the invitation, unintended invitation is all we're trying to protect against, other than Laura's point that we should be somewhat consistent.
Yeah.
So if we could get close to that 20, with the berm, I'm in favor of that. It's more just putting that barrier.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's going to change. The setback isn't going to change to the 22 feet the lower ones, but at least the practical aspect of separation is going to be there. And I guess,
You cannot, sorry to interrupt, you can't interfere with the shape of that body of water in any way.
Not without changing a lot of uplying grades that are impeding on the property line, actually.
Yeah.
So,
So I guess what I suggest then is you heard, the concerns and you got some thoughts, come up with a proposal or a couple, maybe a wish list to, one that completely satisfies the planning department and the concern about, meeting the setback, and one that maybe the compromise, and we'll take a look at it and How's your timetable? I mean, I know obviously you're building, but I think, we should be able to get there. It's probably going to take a couple more meetings, it sounds like.
Yes, yeah, so what I'll do with Brett, with our civil lead, is we'll put together maybe two options this time,
Yeah.
looking at some of those different
Yeah.
points of view, and we'll surface that back to the board and take it from there.
All right.
I mean, we do recognize the value of the view, the service provided to the amenities provided to the residents there.
Yep.
And so I think wherever we end up,
Yeah,
it's better than now.
I will never recommend you guys a 12-foot setback.
Yeah.
I never will. That's really close to the lot line.
No, understood. Yeah, that's
And at the end of the day, the project's taking a very quick pace, right? But it's the last building, that was really our construction access once the buildings come online with their overall phasing sequence. So it's kind of on our way out the door with our truck traffic and construction crews. So it's really going to be one of the last buildings that take place.
Good.
So we'll have some time to put some thought into it, make sure everybody's happy.
Great. No, we do appreciate it. Do you have anything else for us, or does the board have any questions for the applicant at all?
just the other related topic. Did you give any consideration to the residents across the river that they brought up last time?
Yes,
Any-
so present on the plan was some I believe they were Norway spruces that were added to screen the driveway entrances into the parking lots adjacent to those 10-unit buildings that were along the river. And that was one of their major concerns, was screening headlights from
Right.
coming across the river. A lot of the concerns they had were already addressed prior to the meeting,
Mhm.
where the site lighting was reduced from, I believe, 126 lights down to 70. Overall vertical height was reduced substantially. I think they were originally 20 something, and they were reduced down to like a standard 13. So light pollution, I believe we took care of, and a lot of the plantings and screenings that they requested.
Great.
Okay.
What's the status of the building? The interior work being done on any of the buildings now?
Yes, so we're into the first building, which I believe is 12 that we're looking to CO, is they just started painting. We have 14 foundations in the ground and 13 buildings with roofs on them. So
Right.
they're pretty good,
Great.
yes.
Big project.
Looks great so far.
And I guess, by the way, and I forgot if we brought up last time, do you still have open items with the Army Corps of Engineers that you're still waiting to hear on, or?
That was
Is
for
everything
what I would call our phase,
Phase two, right.
Yep. So pretty much we've purchased the wetland credits, right?
Okay.
The conceptual design is being based off of the limit of disturbance that were available for the credits and what we believe Army Corps is going to allow us to
Mhm.
proceed with. We're finishing that conceptual design now, doing building renderings to present to the board.
Okay.
And then also we're going to be running the Army Corps paperwork concurrently with those two reviews.
Okay, awesome. It's good. So that's why I asked. So as of today, as we speak, you are planning on continuing with that phase two, the buildings in the front?
Yes, I'm hoping to present to you folks within a month or so. So
Yeah,
Right.
Chuck, just to go back to the landscaping plan, I know we had talked about like sort of two concepts around the buildings, which isn't included in this, and then a resubmittal to the tree council. And I'm just clarifying, this is not your resubmittal, correct? This is only based on that new building?
this was just based on the fitness center building.
Yeah.
Addressing the screening that was part of the main site. The landscape designs, there was proposed to be 2 landscape designs for each 10-unit building.
Mhm.
That one's still in design. I just
Okay.
overwhelming
Yeah, so we're
the
still
landscape
waiting on the landscaping submittal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's coming. He was just working on the pool design and stuff. I'm just overwhelming the guy.
Mhm. Tell them to put more trees on it.
Yeah. more trees.
Yeah.
No pine needles in the pool. Oh, they're a pain.
Just to understand the right-hand side of the calendar a little bit, ideally, when would you want to have a first tenant move in to
We're-
anything that's available for moving into?
So pending National Grid, as always,
Mhm.
right? We're trying to surface out sometime in the month of October.
Okay.
For some of the buildings, right?
Yeah, the first building, it would be almost a building a month.
Okay.
So you'd have first building October and one predecessing each month going forward.
All right. I mean, hopefully we can come to something with this. Forgot. I agree with you about the 12 foot. So but we just gotta figure out where the right middle is.
I mean, just looking at that floor plan, the game room doesn't look like it could be shortened, but you might be able to shorten the exercise room and then move it over, because then you would just lose. I just look at it.
Yes.
Chuck, you mentioned something in the last meeting that kind of piqued my interest. You said that you guys have a practice of surveying your tenants.
Yeah.
And it wasn't clear to me at the time if that's potential tenants for this particular development or just tenants across all of your properties.
Yeah, through our portfolio of other apartment complexes that we have. So a lot of the amenities, we did Stone Ledge Terrace in Troy and learned a lot of things from the residents as they moved in. We brought those to Starbuck Island, and now we're trying to bring what we've learned from Starbuck Island to Rivers Ledge, right? And that kind of model has worked for us with a lot of, tenant retention and moving forward development to development. So
And I'm
amenities
just,
are kind of like fads,
yeah, right.
Tanning beds when we did Stone Ledge Terrace were in, and then, nobody wanted tanning beds at Starbucks. So we just kind of changed to what people want and what's in.
Is that an ongoing effort,
Yes,
even once the project is complete?
yes.
Have the rental rates been established or arranged?
Yeah, so we have a waiting list right now for Rivers Ledge of 30 people that have been contacting the building department or our numbers. But it's looking like it's going to be a great project going forward. We're excited about it.
I meant the rate per month.
Oh, rate per month. So rate per month.
I like the rate of interest. That's great. Now it brings another question before you answer the rent question. But out of those 30, do you know if they're residents of Niskayuna?
They are. Some are
50%?
residents, some are outside residents of Clifton Park and other areas.
Surrounding areas, okay.
Yep.
So 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom, what's the monthly?
So it varies depending on the location because of the views, and that's what we learned at Starbuck. It was another riverfront property that drove a lot of the scenery that you were going to have. But so our 2 bedrooms and 1 bedrooms are ranging from like 1,400 to 1,700, right? And then some of our 2 bedrooms would be from 2,000, and then some of the Riverview are going up to 3,000.
Gotcha. Okay.
Well, this is a very different riverview from Starbuck Island, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, more of an urban density. I think, me personally, I like a development like this more. It's more of that residential spread
Right.
out
Yeah. I mean,
feel.
I think you can get that price point. Probably.
Yep.
That's good.
Great.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, from the applicant? No, we appreciate the update and look forward to seeing what you got for us next time, okay?
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
thank you. All right, let's see.
Just one thing related to this topic, and I'll bring it up. I can't remember. Was there ever talk from Metroplex or anyone to put in a water taxi along the Mohawk?
I don't know if Metroplex, like the Canal Corps had that program that they ran last year with the kayaks and the bikes.
Yeah, but
The
I mean,
kayaks are still running, but
literally,
the bikes aren't out there now.
I mean, if you really think of, well, maybe that's something that you guys can bring up with the Canal Corp, right? It's with this development going in, you got the casino, and then even down by Jumpin' Jacks, right? The college. It's a great way to. I mean, it's a traffic problem
Yeah.
if you start using it as a, paid waterway for.
Sounds like a business opportunity for you.
But I mean,
The-
yeah,
the
sure. I
docks
mean,
at
that's if I knew
Aqueduct
anything about boats, but
But the docks at Aqueduct Park are non-motorized only.
right.
So you'd have to
You'd
go
have-
over to like the Schenectady Yacht Club. And I mean, there's a nice
Right.
bike path across the bridge. But you do have to get across Aqueduct or through the traffic circle. Yeah.
And I've been going to jumping jacks my whole life. I can't go any place at a country fair without going straight to the fried dough booth.
You're right. Yeah, but you drive there, right?
But I didn't
Imagine
know
taking a
jumping
boat
jacks
there.
until a month ago had fried dough.
I didn't know they had bike
No,
path.
they've had it for a while. Some of us know better than you. And,
It's not that hard to make.
well, anyway, it's just a thought, right? Because
I
there's,
second that.
How is the fried dough, Paul?
Yeah.
So I was at Greene County yesterday at a youth fair. My daughter sells farm crafts, and I had the best fried dough of my life. And it was a vendor from Albany.
Oh,
We'll have to find them.
It's got to be just undercooked, just a little.
Just
You
right.
can't have it
Mhm.
crispy. It's got to be a little doughy.
Mm.
And I said extra powdered sugar, and she gave me lots of extra powdered sugar.
Making me hungry.
The one at Jumpin' Jacks is too dense.
You're making me hungry.
Yeah, I know. So next time,
He's
Paul,
trying to
maybe
end the
you,
meeting fast.
if it's the day before our planning board,
What does
well,
Jumping Jacks
probably
go?
gonna-
Why do you think I was late?
But the river has lots of opportunities and it's probably underutilized. So I guess
Sure, yeah,
that's the comment, so, and hopefully, maybe future, as we develop along the river, we have more opportunities there.
Right.
All right. All right. Thank you, guys. You have a good night. All right. So next we have a new application under discussion items, and that's the 3620 State Street. And this is a tenant change. And we have the applicant, Mr. Mills, here. Mr. Mills is going to come up and just kind of give us an overview of the extensive paperwork that he submitted. So it was a very thorough package. Thank you,
Very
Mr.
thorough.
Mills.
Awesome.
Hello, my name is Darrell Mills, but I do business under Darrell Michael, and I am the owner of Darrell Michael LLC. I also just leased 3620, and I would like to turn it into a salon. It was previously Tango Salon. I don't have any plans to change any structural things, just painting and just revamping in that sort of just color, just adding color to the building and the inside. A little bit about the salon. It is a hair scalp therapy spa. Also, it specializes in hair loss solutions for people with alopecia and also with just damaged hair as well. Part of my list of services, I offer daddy and daughter classes to learn how to wash, detangle, and do styles. I also do another class for mommies and daughters that does the same thing. And I also offer classes for other stylists to learn other applications of hair extensions, male replacement units, and things of that nature. A little bit about me. I am a film and production hairstylist. I've actually worked on the hair for the movie Cradle, which was shot in Schenectady and shown at Proctor's. I also have done numerous shows for Stitched, which is out of Albany, which I do hair for the fashion shows, and also a few of their shoots. I've also done hair for music videos, local videos, and things like that. This salon is basically a stepping stone to my next level, which is going to be my hair distribution factory, which will focus on providing quality hair to people with alopecia and hair loss, as far as women, men, and children. I believe that with the wigs and things that are available for them, it lacks quality and it lacks a lot of a professional touch to it, just because it is flown over from overseas, and the way that they deal with it versus the ideas that I have, I believe that it can definitely change what is the expectation of the hair industry. If you guys have any questions.
Sure. One thing, do you have a storefront now or a salon now?
I actually work out of I work out of my home for now, and then I also go to clients' homes for now. Also do post-COVID, that also became a situation. Me offering it to go to them instead of them being in my home and, putting my kids at risk and things like that. So that's pretty much how that.
Great.
Do you have any info of how Tangles did there as a business? I mean, were they successful?
I do not, but I do know that they were there for a long time because I do live a couple blocks from
Right,
there.
yeah.
I don't know much information about them, and the number that they do have, I have tried to call, but it's like you just can't get a hold of anyone.
Okay. I mean, I remember we were on the board when Tangles. had
yeah.
come,
Yeah, I
right?
think it's probably 2 or 3 years
Yeah.
ago. They
Yeah.
redid it because it was like a tattoo place.
That's right. It was.
Yeah, I think that's
Yes.
correct.
Yeah.
Laura.
But the inside is definitely now a salon, and they went through everything with us to make sure that they had the handicap parking
Right. I
and
remember
the
all that.
ADA stuff. I think they had to redo the bathrooms and everything. Yeah.
So I mean, you're obviously expecting that you'll be successful. I recognize the services are very different, and
Yeah.
it's filling a lot more gaps than just being a hair salon.
Yes, I feel like the services also cater to a problem that is going on
Sure.
right now.
Yep.
And also it being in that area by the commons, it also brings a common space for people in adjoining places
Right,
to
right.
come to. Also with the scalp detoxes and things like that,
Yeah.
be offering it to women, men, and even children. and even people that suffer from psoriasis and things like that. I am looking to offer those type of situations too. Also like hydration treatments, other things just to promote healthy hair, or if they don't have healthy hair, give them solutions as far as hair extensions, or I can even forward them to dermatologists and things like that, because sometimes it's something that I can't do, but I can offer a solution for them to be able to go to work or for them to live
Right.
their day-to-day.
So your products are all expected to be like over-the-counter products, right? Nothing
Yes.
that requires any kind of prescriptions or anything
No,
like that, right?
no.
Okay.
I'm not going that far into
Right.
that. As far as the medicated part,
Yeah.
that's where I would refer them to the
Right,
dermatologist.
right.
So that way the dermatologist can further tell them on something that I don't really
Right,
know
right.
fully about.
The hair distribution service you mentioned, you're planning on doing it in like, you used the word factory, you're planning on having that
Right.
function
This-
in this building also, or?
No. Because
Okay.
the building is leased for 3 years.
Okay.
For these 3 years, it will be a salon and educational platform
All right.
for stylists and parents.
Perfect. Within the context of the application, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It was a very complete application. It was clear.
Yep.
It's like
there's
one of the
no-
best ones we've
I-
ever had.
yeah.
I'd
Yes,
rather
it was.
over-deliver than
No, I'm being,
not
but
have enough, so I wanted to give you guys everything.
this
that
is,
I could
the
think.
process here is just straightforward. This is effectively just a.
Change a tenant,
change, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that normally these go to resolution right
Mhm.
away, but
Mhm.
we just missed that one. So, I mean, you can submit your building permit and we can be very ready to go and have the resolution on for the next meeting.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, it meets the parking requirements, exceeds the requirements for square footage, and, you know, even if, so it seems reasonable, even if you have a class, you got 12, at least
Yeah,
12
it's
parking
12
space,
12
you should,
private.
that'll suit your needs, right?
Mhm.
So,
And my class is
Right.
deemed to go around 10 to 12 people anyway, like
Right.
allowed.
and I assume they'd be, you know, driving together, so.
Right. I could also ask them to that, like to carpool, or I know a lot of people that also like Uber and stuff like
Yeah.
that, so they can also implement that
Yeah.
as well.
No, so,
And as far as the building permit, you check like licenses and all that stuff. You check
Yeah,
that,
we
and
do.
and-
That's
yeah.
something that we do look for. We do want to make sure that
Right.
the therapists are licensed, or not therapists,
Right.
whatever they are,
sure, yeah.
beauticians.
Yes, I do my
Yeah.
license. And
Yeah.
as far as when I open up, I'm looking for an assistant, but they technically don't need the license, just because they're not doing chemicals and they're not dealing with like bleaches and relaxers and things like that. They're mostly braiding, washing, and hands-on things. They are very limited on what they are able to do. But I'm only looking to have one of them just to assist me so that I can take more. And then eventually, over time, because I want to hire more stylists, but I want to set the aesthetic first, because I want my salon to be very professional and very a certain kind of way. And I can't hire them and then expect them to know what I want to give and the level of professionalism that I expect with my employees.
Yeah, so if you were the license that it was going with, we don't keep a copy of it, but we need to see it.
Okay.
It's just
Yeah.
something that we've been really consistent with on those.
Okay.
And then we follow the state rules. So if you're able to hire somebody who doesn't need a license, that's the state.
Okay.
Right.
And I can also reconfirm all of that before going forward as well.
Yeah, I think it just happened with so he'll apply for a building permit
We just check the license.
Yeah.
and we could do a resolution.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yep.
Yep, have a 10 resolution for the August 9th meeting, you know, granting approval for the tenant change. And then, again, if they do the paperwork in parallel, then you should, hopefully, on the 10th, you should be able to get going, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
So-
you can call our office like tomorrow and we can make sure that your building permit is in process.
We're not missing anything, right? I mean, everything looks, when you see it's complete, you wonder if you're
No,
missing
we
anything.
did a nice job.
Yeah.
No, good.
I appreciate it.
All right.
No, it's,
All right, so
Good
it'll be on the
business.
agenda for approval on the August 9th meeting then.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Mills.
thanks.
All right, let's see. All right, next is, that's it for discussion items tonight. So reports, we got a little bit of a working session here during reports. Did you want to go ahead with updates, Laura, first, since we'll follow the agenda?
Yeah, we just wanted to update you on hey Clark, what are we doing the updates on? I think it's
The first one is 1380 Van Antwerp.
yeah. That one has been worked through the engineering department. So I know that Lou went out and met with Matt and was trying to finalize how the water line was going to work. And so I think we're just looking for a final map, and then we can just check what the level of the TDE review is, get that going, and then he's good for moving forward. So really, that's just in the engineering department right now. And then the other one, was it the other one, Knott Street? Knott's Landing?
The other one, we were going to give a quick update on 1448,
Oh, yes. So Clark,
Balltown, the Ace Hardware.
yeah, so Clark and I met with the Ace Hardware people. Clark identified that they're not really storing their stuff in the area that we approved for them to store, and that there's still some unfinished elements over there, and it's been like a year. So we looked at the time that the resolution had been approved. So we met with the owner, the store manager, and the kind of regional manager, I guess. And we discussed with them how it was working because it's been open now, like what they need. And so I think where it came to is that they're gonna, work on sprucing up some of the landscaping and stuff that's overgrown. And we're gonna have them do a site plan amendment so that you guys can check. Like, we told them they really need to tighten it up and figure out what they're doing.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, on the initial site plan, that driveway shows parking, but they have mulch and stuff all along there, and they've got it all like fenced off. And maybe that works. It could be fine, but they need to put it on the plan, and it needs to be what we approved.
You do get the sense that it's a little bit of a work in progress.
Yeah.
overall when you go over there.
Yeah, and so like they have kind of an outdoor area, but it's not really defined. So like maybe putting up a fence and making aisles for people and stuff like that.
However, I do think they're doing good business. Did you get that feedback?
Yeah, he did say that. They opened up in January and they were prepared for the worst because they opened up in January in COVID. And he said that the numbers were not as bad as they thought they were going to be, and it's been better. I know I've enjoyed shopping there.
And every time I've been there, there's always other customers there.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it as a quiet time.
I mean, the parking's not full, and it's interesting because they've got those EV spaces. So, I mean, it's pretty limited regular person parking, but I haven't seen it be a problem yet when I was there.
Yeah.
Well, I've had problems with the parking partly in terms of just being blocked off.
Right.
If
So they
some
don't
people
let you
park
drive.
wrong,
Yes.
And then they've got some pylons, so you can't
Move
turn
in.
where you want to try and get out and all of that.
Yes. So one of the things I was thinking is, and we can look at this for site plan, is that they have that lane where they have some of the pickup, but not all. Like maybe if they moved it all to that lane
Yeah.
and then they left so that cars could drive around in the circle and get out, just something, because right now it's all blocked off and none of it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize the ramp is there.
Yeah.
There is actually signage, but people don't notice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he did say he's going to repave and restripe.
Yeah, he's got to
That'll be
definitely do
helpful.
that.
Yeah.
There's
And
not
he
a-
did also say that they completely fixed the water problem. So that's cool.
That's good. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to say one sentence to them, I'd just say that they can do better.
Yeah. They could do better.
And maybe they could do better faster.
Yeah. So we were telling them and Clark, this is all Clark. He's done a fantastic job with them. Sent them out a thing to update them. It's the heart of the town center overlay district. We care. We heard the public comment. So, we want them to tighten it up a little and make it work better. And I don't think anybody really cares if they don't want their outdoor storage to be on the south side of the building. Like, it may just not work out. It's not going to work out over there. But let's figure out how they're actually working it, because they said that a lot of their customers are older and they need help loading. So that's why they like to have the area where they can pull up their cars. But then if, regular people can't pull around, let's work it out now that we know what their customer base is and what they need. Yeah. So thank you for that, Clark. That's all, Clark.
Well, thank you
Sure,
for.
Laura, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Just one other thing to add. This may be slightly optimistic, but when we were there, they said they expected to start the foundation for the greenhouse in August
Yay.
and have the greenhouse in by the end of September. So.
Just in time for winter. Great.
Yeah. He said, again, there's been a lot of COVID delays, on the glass. They weren't able to get the glass in. And they were even talking about delays on their other buildings. But yeah, the construction manager came late and thought that they would be able to, for sure, they're going to start pouring the foundation for it in August.
Yeah.
He thought.
No, I mean, the COVID delays with shipping are very understood. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
And some of the costs are starting to come down, which probably helps too.
Some of them, and some of them are going up. It's just a big ping pong of what you can't find right now.
Wood's been coming down.
Yeah, he did say that there's some security concerns that they've been having as well. So that's something that they need to think about when they're putting their new site plan together.
Oh, what specific did he say?
Just some things outside. They
Okay.
need to maybe secure them better.
Yes.
Mhm.
I had that thought when I was shopping there.
Which they haven't had a problem with at any other store, just Niskayuna. Yay.
Interesting.
So that's something we can look at too, like lighting, security,
Yeah.
traffic flow, storage, like
Yeah,
all those things. We
yeah.
can work with them on and just get it
Fencing.
right. Yeah.
Did they get that front sidewalk in yet?
No, they're gonna do that when they put the greenhouse concrete in. They're gonna pour the concrete all at once. And I think you guys all remember I sent those emails out multiple times. In order for that sidewalk to be ADA accessible, they're bringing it over to the sidewalk that already exists rather than directly out the front of the building.
Hey, I'm disappointed to hear about that security issue, but by the same token, you know, I know we're on record now in a public meeting, right? Our town seems to be having some issues in in law enforcement and security, so we gotta get ourselves together on this.
Yeah. Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
So we can tighten up the site to make it as
Yeah,
site-proof as
yeah,
it can
that's
be.
what we have,
But
a
there's-
sphere of influence on, but at
Yep.
the end of the day, I guess they should call the police too.
he did say they filed some reports.
So, Laura, one thing we wanted to squeeze in here, we wanted to talk about Target also. I know Clark's, it might be difficult for him, but I had printed Clark's email.
Mhm.
So I don't know if anybody had the opportunity today, but late in the day, not in time to make the agenda, was an update from the applicant for, that's 428 Balltown Road for the Target drive-up lanes. It appears that they took our suggestion and that they have changed the site plan application to from 2 beacons to 1, and the number of proposed spaces from 24 to 12. And then the size of the individual parking space signs were reduced from 34 by 24 on 6-foot-high signs with a 2-leg base to 18 by 30. So they went from 5.7 square feet to 3.8 square feet on 7-foot-high signs with a single Ballard base versus 2. So I did get an opportunity today, at least to look at the drawings that Clark sent out to us. It seemed to be, you know, right where what we were asking for. I don't know if anybody else had an opportunity. I know it was late in the day to take a look at these. Anybody else?
I saw the email. I didn't get a chance to look it up, but I'm
Yeah.
bringing it up now.
But, you know, it seemed to be pretty reasonable. I mean, that's what we asked for, and it looks pretty good. I mean, there's some other things marked on the drawing as far as, you know, revision dates and access for the Target personnel, delivery personnel, but it seemed to be going where we want to go. Clark, I don't know if you can hear me okay. Was there did they give us any kind of a time frame? Because I know they're doing construction now, and they want to be able to coordinate this work along with the current construction.
No, they didn't. They didn't seem to be overly concerned about the time frame, and appearing at the August 9th, I think it is, planning board meeting seemed acceptable to them.
Okay. All right, because I didn't know if we, you know, just a suggestion, or maybe we can just talk about it. I mean, if it's what we asked for, should we have a tentative resolution for that meeting also? Because between now and 2 weeks from now, everybody will have an opportunity to look at it, or should we hold off until we have a chance to talk about it and hear from the applicant? What's the board think?
I mean, I think what you said is fair, Chairman Walsh. If, you know, we just got to make sure that it's everything we asked for, and I didn't get a chance to look it over, but if you feel that it was what we told them and they did it, then.
It seems to be, but I'm just, you know, again, I just saying we could have a tentative resolution if they're looking to coordinate it with the current construction. I don't know, what do you think, Laura? Does that seem reasonable?
I mean, yeah, I didn't have a chance to look at it either until just now, but it is about half of what we saw before.
Right.
Did we kind of like come to an agreement? Okay, yeah, and it does show the signs as more of like the handicap size signs,
Yep.
not those.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that
I'm
I mean,
looking at that now.
I'm okay bringing a resolution for discussion. You can always table it if you feel like
Right.
not quite
Yeah.
ready.
And Laura, if the building department, you and the building department sees anything that's
Mhm.
out of whack, then obviously
Yeah.
we can change that.
Yeah, and that way the applicant can be here on the 9th, or at least
Yep.
And if, we get a chance to look at it, and if we don't like it or something comes up, well, either we'll modify the resolution, go forward, or we'll table it because it's a significant change.
Yeah, okay, so Rezo for State Street and Rezo for Target.
Yeah, I think that would help them out because like I said, they're doing the construction now. They want to coordinate
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I mean,
Especially, I appreciate that they, they didn't come back, they came back with a reduction just like we asked for.
yeah, it's the
So,
principle of the thing, right? If the applicant does everything we asked for, then.
Yeah, it does look good.
Yeah.
I hadn't looked at it until just now, but that's pretty much
Yeah.
what we
Yeah.
did.
Okay, great. Thank you. And thanks, Clark, for getting that out. A lot of last minute stuff today, which makes it a challenge, right? So,
But this works, we can look at it now.
Chairman Walsh, I do have one more update, just for the group. The variances for 3410 State Street were approved at the July 21st zoning board meeting. So that Upstate Guns and Ammo will be coming back to the planning board for the next meeting.
good.
All of them.
No conditions or anything?
No, I think they did, and like the county referral mentioned this too. Want to work on the facade a little because it's so close to the lot lines. And there was one person who opposed the variance to Albany Street. So they did want to make sure that we address like actually overall site, landscaping, cleanup. You're going to get this big addition, make sure it looks nice kind of thing.
Right.
Mhm.
So we're in business with that. I mean,
Yep.
we that's good.
But now he can come back and we can really dive
We
into
can
the
really, yeah.
details with him.
Good.
Yeah.
Great. All right, Laura, Clark, have anything else? Yep, that's next.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to see under planning department reports. Anything
That's
else?
good.
Okay. All right. So Dr. Brennan, you're up next under Historic Preservation Town Code. I know that we had Rev 5 that went out over the weekend. And I was, I looked at Rev, it seemed pretty reasonable to me. Since then, Dart Strayer, the chairman of the Conservation Advisory Council, submitted some information for consideration. And maybe, Dr. Brennan, you can kind of summarize for us. I appreciate that.
Yeah, Dart sent a copy of the Historic Building Preservation Law from Bedford, New York, the town of Bedford. And I haven't talked to Dart, but he highlighted a few sections here which had to do with the process of granting a permit for demolition. And bottom line is the big distinction between ours and theirs is simply that at Bedford, they have the power to deny the permit. The Preservation Commission can, after a period of time, decide that because of the historic nature of the structure, they're going to deny the permit. The structure's still in good standing, it's not falling apart and all that sort of stuff. They can deny the permit. And then there's a process of appeals, which can go through the town board. Well, actually, the town board then has to approve the denial of the permit. They could just say, no, it can go ahead and be torn down. And then if they approve the demolition permit, the denial of the demolition permit, then they can go through a set of appeals and eventually go to court. And there are certain conditions that can be met to finally resolve the problem. What I proposed, the changes I made to the demolition section of the code that is version 4, or version 5, right, rather, simply grants an extension. Well, first of all, it gives 30 days from the time that the permit is requested for the Preservation Commission that the code would establish for the Preservation Commission to investigate, and presumably most buildings under over 49 years old, most buildings would probably be approved because they did not have historic conditions attached to them, or were not historic as far as the town was concerned. So within 30 days, that would, in most cases, probably be approved. If there was some question and they had to go do some additional investigation, the planning department could grant an additional 30 days to provide more time for investigation. And if at the end of that second 30-day period, the the permit could be granted for demolition if the preservation board comes to the conclusion that it's not a building that warrants saving. If, however, at the end of that second period of time, determines that the building is significant to the history, architecture, or culture of the town, then, and that serious discussion should be given to try to save the building, then there'd be another 90-day extension. And during that 90-day period, they would undertake, the planning department, the preservation commission, and the applicant would undertake serious good faith discussions to try and negotiate a means of saving the building. Try to find the funding to save the building, decide to do something else during that period. If at the end of that 90-day period, there's no hope for any resolution, then the building demolition permit can be issued. Assuming there's no other conditions that are required for a demolition permit are applicable. So it's just extended that original idea we had for just a 30-day waiting period a little bit longer. Well, maybe a lot longer, 5 months potentially, up to 150 days. Am I getting right? 150 days.
Yep.
So that's the primary change that I made to that demolition section.
Yeah.
Other than that, there were some wording that needed to be changed, but I changed that.
Thank you.
Other than that, that's the only significant change that was made. And, from my perspective, I think it's a great idea to give us a little more time in the case of the historic building to decide whether it is something that's worth saving. If historic preservation is going to be a objective of the town, something that the town says we should be really interested in, which is what the whole purpose of this resolution, the code is to begin with, then maybe we have to give serious consideration to before we grant a permit to demolish a building. Whether anyone on this board or whether you think the town board is interested on strengthening this even further to actually give the permission to deny a permit, I would certainly be interested in knowing what people on the board here think.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in property rights, and I'm worried even this goes a little too far, but I'm willing to listen to legal advice on that issue. One of my concerns is at what point could a property owner who feels the property is unsafe and therefore should be demolished, at what point would that person have recourse to the court system?
Well, so, if a building is deemed unsafe by a building inspector, I think that that's in the code. Then it's
Well,
unsafe.
it's in the opinion of the building department. I'm saying if the building department doesn't feel it's that bad, property owner maybe goes hires a structural engineer or two and wants a court order to get.
Well, the building department's going to defer to a structural engineer. So if a structural engineer comes in and says the building has to be taken down, the building has to
But
be taken down.
This doesn't say that. That's been my concern all along, because there's a huge liability issue for both the property owner and potentially for the town. And that's my concern. I'm a retired bureaucrat. I grew up in the state system looking at, you never make a decision based on whether somebody might sue or not, but you try to do your best to make sure your position is defensible. And I'm worried at what point somebody would have that recourse.
Well, certainly with respect to unsafe structure, that's going to trump over anything else. Safety is going to always be the paramount issue on something like that.
So if somebody was told no by the building department and felt they really had to push the issue, they could go at that point, not wait for the 150 days to run out?
Yes.
Well, they would have to have a structural engineering report
Well, yeah.
submitted to the building department. Yeah, we actually don't even evaluate buildings for structural stability typically. If there's a hole in the roof and, it triggers a code that says, yeah, it's not safe anymore. Like a no roof, like on Maple Ave, there's no roof for multiple years.
Oh.
But typically we would require a structural engineer to go in there and say that it has to be taken down anyway. The building inspectors aren't structural engineers.
I know that.
Yeah.
That's part of my concern
Yeah.
as well.
No, they're not going to make that call. If somebody comes in and says, I have to take this building down, it's unsafe, they have to show that to us.
They're going to call me and I'm going to tell them to take it down.
Okay. I know of cases where the property owners contacted the insurance company comes out and says, we think you need to take that down. You need to go get a structural engineer. Then it would go from.
Yeah, and I think that that situation is going to be like hardly ever this, like the majority of the buildings are, potentially going to have to get knocked down after a fire or something, in which case, obviously, it's already been deemed as condemned by the building department just for the sake of fire. Then if somebody's doing a subdivision and they want to take it down, their timeline isn't going to be, I have to take it down tomorrow. And then this timeline I think is appropriate. And then, if somebody like an old Niskuna or something's taking a building down and it's 80 years old, it's probably going to be reviewed quickly and then be given a yes. So it's a pretty small subsection of properties that this is going to protect, and any of them that are deemed unsafe, to the property. That's not what this is getting at.
There are cases where you can't see the damage unless you go looking for it. Things like powdery mildew, where if it's been left alone for many, many years, you could have the building close to being ready to fall down on its own and not realize it. I know.
There's a lot of what ifs. I think that like those situations, then like you use your best judgment, and sometimes they get litigated. But is the code on its face like okay? I think it is.
Would it be worth it to add just the little blurb into the code under section 1 in the opinion of the building department or an independent structural engineer?
Yeah, the building department is not a structural engineer. So in
Right.
the opinion of the building department's going to rely on a structural engineer.
Right.
But yeah, you could put.
So that way it then just leaves it in the, it still doesn't take away property rights. It talks to what Leslie's talking about, and it just, cuts out some of makes it more black and white.
I'm
It's
fine
just
with
an
that.
idea.
And with respect to the taking, I don't disagree with Leslie, but I think that I'm not overly disturbed by the 150 days. But I do think we need something in the code that says if we're going to say, no, you can't take it down, I think that needs to maybe go to town board level.
Well, this whole code's
This-
going to the
this
town board
says-
level. Yeah.
This doesn't go that far.
Now, I know it doesn't,
Yeah.
but I'm thinking maybe it does, because
Yeah.
it doesn't, I only read it quickly today. It doesn't give if we want to say, no, you can't take it down. That last section says if we can't reach an agreement, then it says the building department
Issues the permit.
may then issue. It actually should say that the building department shall then issue, because it's not discretionary with the building department. But maybe we want to have something there that takes it to the next level, so that maybe has to be litigated. I think of some of the buildings we have been reading about over the years in Saratoga Springs, where they had it ended up in the court system as to whether or not they had the right to have the owner had the right to take the building down or not. So I don't know if I'm going to think about whether we need another level
Well,
if we want to say no.
that's what, with DART,
Right.
and I appreciate DART doing that and running it over today. I don't have what town it was. I'm sorry. I only copied a couple pages.
Yeah.
Bedford.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I
for
want,
Bedford,
Bedford.
And that one, that's basically what it says, that the applicant has the opportunity to appeal to the town board. The town board's got a time frame to make a decision, and it'll go to that level.
Where is Bedford?
Bedford is downstate. It's by I-84, where 84 meets, it's Upper Westchester County,
Yeah.
Northern Westchester County.
I can
So,
send you a copy of this.
No, it came with it.
Oh.
Whoever sent it to us included that, and I just didn't
Yeah,
read the
Clark did.
Bedford.
Yeah.
I scanned it real quick, but I have it.
it
Thank
is,
you.
we have it. So, I'm just looking at our process, right? So we're at the point, and this, I think, what we asked for, and so I do thank Mr. Stewart for bringing this, that when you looked at all the local historical stuff, the concept of carrot versus stick, we felt we're kind of in line with it. This is we're seeing something now from another town further away that's clearly stick where this is concerned. And we got to ask ourselves if we thought we were just getting our toes into the water, treading in with putting something like this in place in the code to begin with. do we want to take that next step? I mean, I know I'm
Yeah,
asking a
that's,
question.
yeah, that's the
back to
question,
past.
right? That's, and the other thing that's,
There is no carrot or stick in this, really.
Yes, I was going
Right,
to say,
yeah.
Yeah.
this code is
Right.
carrot and stickless.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
So, no, I understand that. I understand the description of ours, right? Bedford's clearly has something different.
and I think it also states in here, if I recall reading it, about if they have to go for a consultation, that would be at the building owner's expense.
Yeah.
Also, so if the town board needed to have a study done or
Yeah.
call in some engineering or historic specialist or something, it's going to be at the expense.
Well, that's pretty standard though.
Yeah.
I mean, when we looked at Malta, Malta is a stick code in that the town board can designate a structure as historical without the property owner's consent. Although I can't imagine that happening very often at a political level.
It doesn't. No.
Yeah, Dennis says it doesn't work, but that's a stick method that doesn't work. And then Clifton Parks, which we know does work, is a tax incentive to do a deed restriction on. But we have to look and see what would happen with our properties if we did put some historic tax incentive.
And I mean, when we go back to our origin point of this, right? I think this all started with Niskuna needing to have a way to identify a property as being of historic value.
Yeah, for a lot of reasons.
Right, and definitely the code as you've written it today with the team that's written it clearly communicates that. But, taking the next few steps, I think, is going to take a lot more deliberation.
Yeah, like I'm okay with adding the additional time frame in because I think that it's not going to apply to very many.
Yeah.
And in that case, like kind of a 90-day window to go back and forth with a developer, you're probably going to be able to accomplish a fair amount.
Right.
You say the additional, you mean as it exists in
Yeah,
draft
so
5?
between revision 4 and revision 5, we added
Yeah,
like Dennis and I talked about it. I think we added 120 days.
But
Yeah.
but the additional, there's more timeframes than what Dart has supplied, right? Also,
Well,
Because he just felt like 30 days wouldn't be long enough to actually
Yeah.
convince someone.
no, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look beyond now Rev 5 to Mr. Briggs' comment. How do we go to the next step? Do we extract some of this appeals process information out of the Bedford? Just basically cut and paste because it looks pretty good,
Is there?
No.
Well, I'm sorry. Yeah.
no, that's all right, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, is there? Let's say if we took what we have so far and we go forward to the town board with them, I think that there is a way to create a section in the code that could eventually be something more stringent.
Yeah, we would
And-
probably loosely number this code so we could add sections to it. over
Right,
time.
and maybe even, is there a way in definitions or something to communicate that intent? And it's just that we haven't done it.
Well, that's maybe a Paul question, but I typically don't put in definitions that aren't written in the code because it confuses.
Yeah, so I don't know if definition is the right place for it, but I meant something that conveys, this,
You could
this,
put it in the
this section
purpose,
for
maybe.
future, this section for future, some description of what we might want to do in the future, and then just leave it.
Can you do that? I don't know.
No, we don't do that.
You don't do that?
No,
We don't try to forecast the future.
no, we just put in
A
a
section.
number and a blank next to it.
I've seen like this section is reserved, but I've
Right.
never seen an
Other than that, no.
explanation. Yeah.
So I guess my opinion on this is that it's a small obstacle for a developer who's really intent on taking something down. And, whether it's 3 months or 4 months, they're going to bide their time. A lot of these people coming in are going to know the system. And if they're really intent about taking it down, they know that they kind of can. I would support something a little bit more stringent with the fact that we're going to have a historic commission. There's going to be a survey.
Mhm.
The other thing I liked about the Bedford thing is they actually added a small quip on the history under the findings, which basically told them, the initial founding of Bedford. We could do something similar to that, adding a paragraph about Niskayuna to say, hey, this has been around since the early 1800s. Just little things to bolster that up. So to me, I would support something a little bit more stringent, in my opinion, whether we do that now or at least get this initial step in and then a year or two later, look to see what's happening. Are we getting inundated with requests for buildings that we think are pretty good? I mean, we don't see that often, but that doesn't mean that a larger developer might want to take a vacant structure and take it down.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said it because that's actually where I'm coming from in the back of my mind too. It's more we need to have some kind of a period where we see what happens. And that's what I was talking about. Even if it's a section number on a blank, at least we'll all know and it'll be captured in some minutes somewhere what we intend by that blank, right? But the principle of it is to just see what happens. And look, there's something that I always find important on the board. Do our developers know that we're actually, I mean, when I say our developers, the ones, our usual suspects, do they know that we're actually doing this?
I mean, I don't like send mail outs to everyone who submitted a site plan application in the
Okay.
past for code updates.
So it just comes straight through whatever the public hearing.
Yeah.
They see the agendas
Yeah,
just like we do.
yeah,
They
right.
know they're on.
No, I
They
agree,
read the
yeah, yeah.
packets, then they're
Who
just-
gets to the public hearing mailings for a code thing?
No one. They just have to check
They
the
just have to check
newspaper
the
for that, because
newspaper.
otherwise it would
Right.
either be every single
You'd be
property
mailing
in
right.
town.
Yeah, no, it's a dumb question. actually,
Yeah.
should I-
From a legislative drafting point of view, I prefer to put the strong line, if you're going to think about it someday, put it in now.
That-
Draft it now because then the intent is clear. Because then you have a problem and you try to quickly draft something to correct the problem and it looks like it's
Capricious.
spot zoning or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Spot legislation or,
Spot-
so I think, so I'll work on that with Dennis about maybe, as you said, Bedford was a good example.
Yeah, I mean, if we could extract right out of it, I appreciate your time, Dennis, doing this and everything. And if we could extract what, you think is relevant out of it
I mean,
and just add it to, Rev 5, make it Rev 6. I'd like to get to the point where we have the public hearing so we could get some feedback on it or no feedback on it, But I agree with you, Mr. Briggs. If we get it as tight as it can be, why go back? Let's just get it right the first time the best we can.
If I can add to that, at the last meeting, I think it was Mr. Tenants, is that?
Mhm.
Yep.
he was talking about the text.
Dennis talked about finding some sort of benefits that we can include in here. Unfortunately, there are none. The state does offer an income tax rebate for renovation of historic homes, but only in zip code tracts where the average price of the house is much lower than ours.
Mhm.
Isn't offered in a 12309 code. On the other hand, there is a program through New York State and the federal government through through the federal government called Certified Local Governments. And if you become a certified local government, it allows you access to the advice from the state, from the local federal government. There are opportunities for grants and aid to put benefit renovations. There are programs for educating the community about preservation. However, you can't be a certified local government if your preservation commission does not have the power to deny a permit. So denying the permit would allow us to eventually or possibly take that next step and become a certified local government. That would help us access grants and aid and other benefits to the state and the federal government.
A couple
That's another
points.
benefit to going forward. And I agree with David. I would rather say, Mr. DRP, I would rather, personally, I would like to see the possibility of denying a permit.
A couple points. You all seem to be concluding that anyone who would come in would be a professional developer. I don't think that's accurate. I know sometimes people buy a house and then discover it needs so much repair, it's not worth putting the repairs into it. And we'd like to just tear it down and start over. I've been uncomfortable all along with putting any property 49 years or older into this group. I think you're taking in close to majority of the town that way, in spite of all the development. In recent years, it's a good percentage of the homes.
That's the state's definition of a historic property, though. Like, even when we're filling out our grant applications to the state, it's 50 years or older. So I don't really want to mess with the timeline because it's pretty state mandated. And you want to be consistent between different municipalities and government levels when you can.
Well, I would like to speak sort of from Leslie's point of view on this, and also underline the fact that the Bedford Code does not reference a specific number of years, but rather it picks a point in time. that they designate as pre or post 1900 as that point. 49 years right now puts us at what some members of this board find to be a significant period of homes built with or without architectural significance and character. But 20 years from now, that brings into the equation a lot more homes. So should we instead be saying prior to 1960? Or should we be considering making it more than 50 years?
We've been lamenting for years that this town is nearly built out. And some of us have concerns about Old Niskayuna in particular, that people start buying up 2 houses at a time and then try to knock them down and put in McMansions. We are currently trending a bit away from McMansions, which I find very encouraging for a lot of reasons, but there's still that concern. But this doesn't help that at all.
Yeah, but your point, Mr. McPartland, is actually to put in a fixed date rather than a time period.
And the date that the town of Bedford landed on is 1900.
But we would want to make sure that if we did that, it included the Schaefer homes.
Well, now that doesn't necessarily mean, so one other thing I'd like to highlight here is that the building inspector can determine that a home has historical significance even if it was built after the year 1900, but meets other criteria.
Yeah.
I like the
Yeah.
50 years.
But I think,
So
I think what I'm hearing you say, Mr. Bartlett, is that take our 49 years, we're in 2020, but whatever it is, subtract off, put it in as a date, so that stuff that's getting built now, 50 years from now, is going to be considered historic. Maybe it is.
That's where I'm going.
Yeah.
I have difficulty viewing some of the homes being
Built now.
having been built 20 years ago, being considered historic 30 years from now.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
My house is,
If I can add a little information on that topic, the 50-year limit. 50 years is widely used as a differentiation between historic and non-historic. And at least in part, if not in whole, it's an element of what's known as the 50-year rule at the National Register of Historic Places. The National Register of Historic Places, like the proposed code here, doesn't define a historic building by number of years, at least not primarily. It's defined by associated with events that are significant, contribute to Niskayuna's history in our case, identified with personages or people significant in Niskayuna's history, bodies distinctive characteristics, architectural, artistic characteristics, such as that. However, for the National Register of Historic Places, even if you meet all those statistics, all those qualifications, the building has to be more than 50 years old in order to be registered in the Register of Historic Places. So the 50 years is a common number, which doesn't mean we couldn't change it. But if you chose 1960, 20 years from now, you're going to have to change that to 1980.
I would posit that we don't.
We don't, correct, yeah. He's coming from there.
And furthermore, if something is of such historical significance and is only 50 years old, then you would think there have been some efforts made to place it on a historic register by that point.
Or a local register.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, or local registers. I mean, the language about the building department's, option on that could cover it. But I think we're having this discussion because I guess we need to know what the planning board thinks about putting in a permit denial feature or not.
All right, so a good example would be the Mesick house on Route 7. All right, the one that Joel had as part of that package. We all drive by it, he's cleared it out, you can see it. That's a good example of, okay, could it be condemned? Probably. Could somebody restore it? Yes. So that's a good example. It's right in the center of town. It's got a defined architectural style. It's highly visible. If somebody restored it, it would be fantastic to see. But if somebody tore it down, do you think they'd replicate anything close to what's there? So that would be a good example of maybe one that if that was on the register, it's got, enough documentation that it could be in our commission report. the house sits around for a couple years, somebody buys it, they come in and they decide, like you said, they're going to try to tackle it. It's overwhelming. They decide they want to tear it down. Where do you go from there?
Would it be missed?
Well, so if we were the town of Bedford and the building inspector had the power to determine the cultural or historical significance based on 3 different criteria, it could still, the denial could still be made. And one of the criteria is that the building is listed on the historic survey. So I know the town of Niskuna has done 1 historic survey. I think it would be incumbent upon us to keep that survey of historic places current and maintain that inventory of the Mesick House and other significant structures.
So anytime you start giving somebody discretion, it's open to a court challenge. A definite number of years is not. So the building inspector may, based on these conditions, and then someone says, well, he or she looked at that in the wrong way, and then I'm going to challenge that. So I agree with you that gives you an out, but I'm always trying to avoid litigation.
Yeah, I mean, sorry.
Well, I've been uncomfortable all along with having people other than the property owner be allowed to get it designated as historic. But aside from that, once it's designated, are we going to have it like recorded on the deed or something so future buyers know what they're getting into?
Excuse me, but a house can't be designated historic without the owner's assistance.
In our code, yeah.
Okay, but is it going to be recorded so future owners will know that? Because that might make a difference to somebody whether they want to purchase the property or not.
So a swimming pool too. But yeah, I mean, it'll be in the town records that it's a.
Yeah, it's not proposed to be
But we'll
recorded.
go on the individual property records so that,
It's not proposed to be put into a deed. That's not how this code is written.
then how is a future owner going to know?
I mean, like,
That goes beyond the normal due diligence. It's nowhere on the deed.
Well, they'll know from the
And
plaque.
you are potentially putting some real severe restrictions on that property. And that does affect value.
But there's lots of times, Leslie, where my brother bought a piece of property in the town where can't think of which street it was on, but they were going to it left a lot open so there was a cul-de-sac, or so that you could put a further road in there someday. And there was nothing in anybody's deed, but he, being an engineer he was, did some research and saw that was there. So there's lots of things that restrictions. My deed has all sorts of, over in Forest Oaks, we have all sorts of, you can't have this in the front yard or that. But I've seen lots of deeds in my neighborhood now that they haven't put in that 2-page declaration attached to it. But you're still bound by it. So anybody that's going to, you still have to do the search. Just because it's not in the deed doesn't mean it's not a building requirement or a building restriction.
My concern is that a prospective buyer down the road isn't going to know what they're getting into because this is something a title search is probably not going to come across.
well, so
And they should know what they're getting.
Mr. Briggs, is under disclosure, like real estate, if you're transferring real estate, wouldn't you have to disclose that? And if the new buyer were to find that out subsequently, they'd probably sue you because you sold the house without disclosing,
if you knew it.
No,
if you knew it. Well, I'm assuming that people are going to know it. Leslie's point is that they sell it and then they buy a house that didn't understand was on the historic register.
so we have, in the real estate world, we have something called a PCD, property condition disclosure, which you have to list. It's about 70 questions that they ask about, are you aware of this or that? Even though with that, if you are aware of something, you don't have to fill that out.
Yeah.
You can ignore that and pay $500 to the purchaser. But that always softens, when I see that.
That's a flag, right?
When I see that where a seller's not providing the PCD, we call it, I always tell my client, there's something here that there's a reason why they're not doing that. So then they may do more due diligence, or especially when do their home inspections, they
Yeah.
may look for things that raise a flag.
You understand my concern.
I do.
I mean,
I
if,
just don't know how we address it.
yeah, if we were to
Other
put
than having it
in,
on the deed.
yeah, if we were to put in a denial into this code now, I think we'd need to be a lot more careful about our language.
But and
And,
you can't just, so that would require them to file a new deed? Because I've owned the house for 10 years, I'm not, and
You
so
can
it
add an
wouldn't be on
addendum
my,
to the deed, can't you?
you have to file an amended deed. So that's, you know, that's now about $205 to file. That's if you could do it, if you type it up yourself, you would pay a lawyer, it's about $500 or $600 to do that.
I mean, there is the existence of the survey that's going to happen, and there's existence of the plaques, and
I mean, I'm
I mean,
comfortable.
maybe those things become more visible options, right?
Yeah.
Where,
I mean, I'm comfortable with writing into the code a denial as long as, you know, the attorney reviews it and feels that it's, you know, legitimate. I mean, if the consensus is to put a date in rather than 50 years, I like the 50 years just because it's consistent with what the state and federal government does. But if the compromise here is that you guys put in a date that works for people, I mean, I can live with that. And then I think that we could, I mean, I don't know that we're ever going to have consensus. It's just
Yeah.
like chickens with us. So
Yeah, well, I
right,
think
yeah.
that Dennis made a good point about the certified local government. If that's, you know, if that sounds like that's important, why would we want to, you know, miss that opportunity by putting a firm date, you know? As long as we're covered, I understand, you know, what you're saying, because there'll be a lot of houses as every year goes by, there's houses that, it's just NA, right? Because it's, it's
yeah,
track home.
and I think that, you know, to Leslie's point, maybe we do need to get those plaques to happen and
Mhm.
facilitate that somehow with a
Yeah.
discount or
Yeah,
something.
That would
where-
be a good way to communicate.
Right, and that's a good way. They'll know it's a historic property because there's a sign on it.
All right, so where do we go with Rev 6? Do we take some of the stuff from Bedford about the town board having the authority to have a review and to make a decision if, you know, there's if there's a disagreement and tighten it all up?
So I'm going to add some language to that effect, and then Dennis and I will
Okay.
work on cleaning it up and then present it to you folks.
All right,
How's
that sounds good, because
That's about an additional 2.5 pages of language, which is fine.
that's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, I mean-
Be clear,
Well, Paul, if-
provide the-
if Paul can take a look at it though, and maybe doesn't need to be 2.5 pages, but.
It won't be.
Yeah, it won't.
Yeah, and I do want to clarify something I got a little bit more certainty on than I did.
Point on, right?
Yeah, I just want to clarify something I got a little more certainty on that I didn't 5 minutes ago. I'd rather be consistent with the state and federal designation of the age. So if that is a time period that's 50 years or 49 years, I think that's probably the better thing to do. I know, because
Well,
we're
it's
also making an
available.
implicit assumption that whatever is being done today, you know, isn't worth being historic, but, you know, back to the point we made earlier, no one knows the future, right? So who knows? Maybe it is.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
at least consistency with the federal and state definitions.
As an aside, Dennis, what's the age of that building that's sort of in the middle of Route 7 that they started to clean it up and then all of a sudden there's a for sale sign up?
That's the Krieger house.
What's it called?
The Krieger House.
Yeah,
Parts of it supposedly date to the Revolution, but
old house.
that's, I'm not sure which part. But some of it dates back that far. It's probably mostly 19th century.
Yeah, it's so cool. I really like that.
Yeah, I drove by it watching them clean it up and then I saw them starting to try to stabilize it and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden they disappeared.
Yeah.
It's a project,
That
So
may be one of
the
those
base-
cases where it's way more to deal with than people thought.
right?
But it's worth it.
But Joe Basilian did stabilize the basement in there, did quite some extensive work and did some work on the back too. But I think
Did you do it on the?
No, yeah.
But I'm talking about a
That's
different
Krieger
house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The music house is the one on Shannon Boulevard.
Yeah.
Krieger house is the one that's right up along the side of the road. It has
I
really
got
ordinary.
them backwards.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
Okay.
that-
What do you call that one I'm talking about? What house?
Krieger.
Krieger. Where is it exactly?
Spell that?
Paul?
CRE.
Yeah, sometimes they pronounce it like Krieger or something, right?
Yeah, it's got a whole bunch of different spellings.
And why
Yeah.
is it called that?
It was a family name at one point.
Oh.
The family name. but
Okay.
The family lived in both the Krieger and the music house. The Kriegers lived in both the music, so that's why it's.
So that's why
Oh,
it's
okay.
confused.
I got them flip flop.
Where is the house you're talking about, Paul?
So it's
exactly?
across from like Avon Crest North
Okay,
sign.
it's where they did that big clearing.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It sits there and it's real close to the road,
Road.
unfortunately.
Yeah,
Really
yes, okay, I got it. I know the house. Yeah, that's it.
And there's a for sale sign just came one up on it.
I saw, I looked there, I Google that they're looking for 249,000,
How much?
249.
It probably needs more than that amount of work.
Another
Say,
249.
Yeah. Does it say it's a historic property?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Enjoy this one of-
So Joel actually, he purchased the two houses together in a single estate sale, the one on Shannon Boulevard and the one on Route 7, for like $60,000 or something. And then he sold that one to some downstate families. And I know they were in there working on it a little bit, but
Oh, and they're the one that relisted?
now they are relisting it. Yes. Yep.
Yep. Okay, so what I heard is, Paul, you'll take a look at the Bedford and highlight some areas that you think would be applicable to firm this up a bit, provide those to Dennis or work with Dennis and to give us a Rev 6. That's what I heard.
You heard correctly.
All right.
Oh.
You heard correctly.
And like to David's point, do we want to just put in a little paragraph about Niskayuna to beef up the background a little bit?
Sure.
I leave that to you.
Yeah, and thank you, Dennis. I know this is a lot of work. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, the last comprehensive plan had a good historical,
Yeah, we could probably cut and
you
paste
could
it.
cut and paste something out of the
Mhm.
comprehensive plan, and plus you've got a wealth of knowledge that goes with that.
Great. All right. Anything
One of the
else?
proclamations for one of our major celebrations too. It's been documented before.
All right, we get this to a point again where we can have a public hearing, and maybe we'll learn something else that we missed. But we'll get to a point where we can pass it on to the town board. Yeah. All right.
Well, I mean, I think this one wasn't necessarily something we missed. We consciously
Well, I
didn't
meant-
think.
No, I meant,
Yeah.
no, not this. Something else we
Something
missed.
else that we-
Something else
yeah,
we
yeah,
might have missed.
yeah, yeah.
Right? There's always, people have different ideas. So, and that's why we have a public hearing to see, get help, right? Make sure we got all bases covered.
It's really good important work that you're doing.
No, this is, I mean,
Yeah.
very important. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
This could be like our lasting impact.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Brennan.
All right, so that's it for reports. So I'm just going to move right on to commission business. Ms. Shenfield, do you have anything for us tonight?
I was just curious what the status is of the Aqueduct Animal Hospital. Are they completed? It looks fantastic driving by.
Yeah, so
Tenants.
they're under temporary CO, which allows them to have tenants. Our code requires that the parking lots be screened for headlights to residential properties. And so I made the determination that the arborvitae are a little bit too far spaced apart to truly screen headlights from the adjacent property. So I think he needs to plant a couple more arborvitae. And I said you can do whatever landscaping you want, but he likes the arborvitae. So I think you'll see a couple more arborvitae go in there just so that there's that buffer to the residential home. But yeah, he actually said that he wanted to put cultured stone along the side that's very exposed to Balltown, but he ended up having to redo the entire sewer line. But he did put cultured stone around the doors, which is better than nothing.
It looks really good.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Maybe that was your.
And he's got
project,
some
right?
landscaping, so he's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
got to
It
do a
looks
couple
very
more
good, too.
arborvitaes.
It's very
There's a couple
Compared to what
changes
was
to
there.
the sidewalk.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, even on itself, not even compared to what was there.
Yeah.
It definitely catches the eye
Yeah.
and it's in a
Yeah,
positive.
it's clean.
It's in a
Yeah,
positive
it looks
light.
good.
Yeah, it's clean. I mean, I drive by it every day. It looks like
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
the
Yep.
residents seem to be enjoying themselves. So yeah.
Were pets allowed?
Yeah, they definitely. I saw somebody with a dog out in the. I would say they are. And I just wanted to update you guys that I think we looked at a couple different options on the roof railing, but we did end up just saying it's not going to work, like with penetrations and stuff like that for Knott's Landing West.
Plus bill. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, Ms. Shenfield?
No, nothing else.
Mr. Diarpino?
We had an architectural review board meeting past Wednesday, but I was unable to attend. So I don't know if Clark's on.
Did you just want to add anything to that, Clark?
We did have the meeting. It went really well. A lot of great input. And that's pretty much all. Not much more than that.
Okay.
And I would nominate the water tower in Niskayuna because it was showcased on The Simpsons to be in historical preservation.
I'm sure that's more than 50 years
Oh,
old.
please, no. At some
With
point,
or without
at some point in
cell-
time, it will
cell
need to be
towers?
replaced.
And that's all.
Mr. McParland?
Nothing from.
And Mr. Khan?
Nothing here.
Ms. Gold?
Other than we skipped over the COVID-19 update,
Oh,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
sorry. All
No, I'm
that.
sorry. I missed that.
So I know Kevin said we need another plug for you guys,
Yeah,
which we'll work on. And obviously we had
we
some
didn't plug that,
technical
right?
difficulties tonight. My expectation is that Target would attend probably remotely because otherwise they send people from Ohio or New York City or something. So we'll try and get that working. But it seems to be going really well, with the exception of that just turning itself off tonight.
I think once the meeting ended, there was no way to get back in. I might be wrong, but
No,
I know
Clark's actually still on here. I still have the meeting going.
really?
Yeah, what happened was that the computer that is transmitting lost its internet. And Brett Steenberg said that he thinks that the Windows Discovery thing, there's something wrong with it because it also wouldn't discover the USB. It's that computer disconnected itself from the Google meeting, but I still have it
But the
going.
meeting never
It's
did
still up.
actually end.
Yep, it's
Because
still
there was
here.
a sign that the meeting had ended.
On there.
So it got the wrong signal.
That computer
So I guess
disconnected
I do have
itself
to
from the
ask a
meeting.
dumb question.
I
Does
know
the town
some of
have an
those
IT
apps do
department?
time out if you don't reestablish fast.
It timed out now. I could wake it up again, but
Does the town have an IT department?
yeah, and he's actually the one that's created the system and it works really great. Except I think that the USB hub on the Wi-Fi is something's wrong with it, but he'll fix it and get it up and going. It's way better.
So
as
the
a
IT
hybrid.
department is an individual?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just Seth.
Hey, for many years, we shared an individual with the town of Glenville. To have
Awesome.
our IT person solely to us is an upgrade.
Yeah,
I
I
know
mean,
guys
it's
were-
actually, I know it didn't work super great tonight, but he actually tucked all the cables underneath. There's a computer that works directly with that and a wireless keyboard. It is cool. We just lost the internet on that computer tonight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was there a reason why we didn't put the chairs on that side? Was there another use of the room that we didn't?
Yeah, we talked about flopping the chairs because more
Yeah.
people are
Putting the majority over
vaccinated,
there and the minority.
No, I
over there.
forgot about that.
and that way they can see the screen, you know.
They probably won't do that for town board because the town board doesn't do the hybrid meetings, but we've needed them every single time because the zoning board applicants have needed to come
Yeah.
Remotely a couple of times. So
I mean, it's not your responsibility to do it. We have to do it. I mean, for whatever it's worth, I said it earlier, I'll make the continuation comment. Our town is just not looking good right now.
we'll keep working on it.
I mean, for the, I had somebody comparing the Mosquito taxes to New York City taxes in the conversation I had the other day. So,
It's
I
one
think
step
our
at a
town
time. We
disconnected.
can get this room to work. I have complete and utter faith in Seth.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's a legal requirement, right? And we're,
No, we're okay because do you see the on-air sign? Like
Yeah.
we're live streaming to YouTube,
Yeah.
so the
We just
Google
want-
Meets link isn't the way that people interact with our meeting
yeah.
unless they're attending remotely. And Clark's got a hybrid thing going on.
No, I agree, but to see the screen displays. And
Yeah, we want to be able to see.
Yeah,
the
we
text.
definitely want
Yeah,
that.
no, I
to
mean,
work.
And if you're sharing your screen.
That's why I
somebody
brought
on
up we
Google
need a
Meets can
TV
see it, even if they
monitor.
can't
Yes,
hear,
yep,
right?
they can. Yeah, it's actually a really good system. It's just that it went offline tonight.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Gold, anything else?
We'll get it to work. I promise you guys. I really like that you guys are working with us too with your laptop devices and all that.
Mhm.
And this is just, I think, a way better use of time and visually being able to see those plans. We just got to get it to not time out, whatever it did.
When I decide on a new phone, I'll figure out what tablet I can get to go with it. Although if I get the one I'm thinking about, I might not even need another tablet.
Okay. And Seth did say, like, for Chris, we may have some floaters because they may not need the COVID tablets out there because people don't need to do the attestations when they come in.
It's a
So like
variant
we
I
can just
wouldn't
have them
count on.
preloaded. So like if your computer doesn't work that night or like, you know,
It might not be a
Frazzles on
bad
you.
idea just to have one. on
yeah, we can just
standby.
have a couple floaters that you guys can grab if you need them. That's the idea. He's got it all, you know, working through his head. He's just have to
he's
keep
a-
practicing.
He solved a lot of problems. He's a very
Good
bright
IT
man.
guy.
He's a really good IT guy.
That's great.
He's saving us money. He's finding,
He's
he's just,
amazing.
Oh, I like that too.
it's unbelievable the stuff that he's turned up.
He's amazing.
That just is, I mean, we're paying, I won't go into
Yeah,
it, but we're
yeah.
paying for things that, why are we paying for that?
Yeah, he's doing a good
Because we
job.
always did.
I think that this is truly a USB hub issue, which it went bad at the zoning board meeting. So
Yeah.
I think he can fix it.
I'm sure you can. Cool thing.
Anything else, Ms. Gold?
No, thank you.
All right, Mr. Laflamme?
No, sir.
Yeah, the other thing I got is on the same subject, you know, like we had a lot of late notifications, you know, things, applicants sending things in. And one of the things that's difficult, like for me, is that, you know, it's email, right? It might be a Word document versus a PDF. And then I've got to like save it as a PDF and then move it over so I can put it into Google Drive. So that way I can download it
Open it.
without having to go live over the internet, which obviously sometimes is slow. Is there, do we have a SharePoint or can we put stuff, all those things just online? It just, there wouldn't be a link to the public on our webpage that we could just go click on things? You know? And then Clark or you would just email out a link saying, hey, this document's been uploaded. And you would already, make it a PDF, possibly reduce the size because some of these things are just so large. I mean,
for
Yeah.
sure, we can share, we can make a planning board like Google Drive. Like for sure, we can share a Google Drive. A different software I'd have to think about.
yeah, I'm just saying, because it's, it's, some documents are so large, these drawings that, you try to, even if you download it ahead of time and save the file,
No,
still
it's
go to
fine,
open it.
Mr. Walsh, but a planning board Google Drive would work.
We could definitely do a planning board Google Drive. You would still have to download it ahead of the meeting, or you would be downloading it off the internet while
Right.
you're here, though. That's a Google Drive.
Yeah, I mean, anything we can try would
Yeah.
be great. I had to print some things because I would be trying to pull it up. I'd be sitting here trying to find it and trying to get to download. I mean,
Yeah.
it's already downloaded, it's on the drive. It's still, the files are so big, it takes time with this old device.
Yeah.
to Display, So you let her go out and get a new device, I guess.
No, but that's not a bad idea to actually have it in a drive somewhere instead of sending it by email.
Yeah, and then you just send the notification it's uploaded versus sending the
Yeah.
documents.
You might even be able to do that on the website, like a special
Yeah.
place where you guys go, but probably the Google Drive is the easier way to do it.
Yeah.
I'll look into it.
Not for me.
Really? Okay. Well, we'll look into both
I
options.
avoid Google because I don't like all the garbage they send with everything.
Yeah.
I don't like the way they track everything.
Or if you just upload it to the webpage.
Or the webpage,
In
yeah,
a
the webpage
PDF,
could work
and I
too.
could just, it doesn't have to be, the public can see it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could even, it's all public anyway.
It's
You could
public,
even
yeah,
just
there's
make
no,
like a-
yeah, there's no reason why it shouldn't be
Yeah.
public, yeah.
Then you can just do like a document page for planning board that we could upload those.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
exactly.
a
So
shared
these documents could have been uploaded and then, again, I could download them from there and save them wherever I want, or anybody could, yeah. Anyway, think about it. See if
Yeah.
we get-
I can think about
I
that.
know we want to stay away from paper, so we just got to get better, right?
Mhm.
Okay, that's all I had. Anything else, anybody?
I did have a problem with one of the documents today. I finally got it to open, but I don't know if it just hit my computer at the wrong time.
Was that the
or-
Lou Lisi document?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had trouble with that too, and it wouldn't open in Firefox, so I went over to Chrome, and then it opened okay in Chrome. It was a 14 megabyte file, it was a
Yeah,
large
with the
file.
forwarded email, right?
Yeah, so
That can
so,
be tricky sometimes.
yeah, sometimes I got to change browsers to get things open,
Well, it finally worked in Edge. I mean, Microsoft does always come through for me, but it just didn't want to download.
Okay, well, that would be another reason for us to get a page where the format's all the
Right,
same and you can just
Exactly.
go there.
Yep, and
Yeah.
if it's a Word document, PDF at first,
Mhm.
so you don't have to.
Because then we're
open
sending
up-
you the link and not a 14 megabyte
Right.
email anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, thanks.
But if it's a late arrival, there's probably not a lot of time to do all those.
That's right, I mean, if it's a later hour, we'll just not get it till the next time.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, oh, we try to
yeah.
accommodate it,
Yeah.
to, at least talk about it, because we're going to talk about it sooner or later, so if we get it done, we can get it done, right? So,
Totally honest, paper's a lot easier to work with,
Yeah.
but then I've got tons of paper. I'm trying to get rid of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, you would have been running around anyway, making photocopies at 5:30, right?
Yeah.
So the time it takes to create a link is,
And I think if we keep working on the system, it'll get better.
Mhm.
Like,
great. No, thanks.
stick with that.
Continuous improvement, all right? Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Khan and seconded by Ms. Gold. We're adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you. Chairman Wash.
okay, Clark?
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll see you tomorrow, okay?
All right. Yep.
Bye, Clark.
Good night, guys.